I'm Lewisville's Neighborhood Services Coordinator, Ashleigh Feryan. Recently, I was appointed by the City Council to the Serve Lewisville Board. Serve Lewisville is a critical new endeavor for the city, offering an easy, accessible place for our residents to find assistance for their needs, be it healthcare, mental health care, food, rental or utility assistance, or other areas of need. Serve Denton C.E.O. Pat Smith recently briefed the City Council on Serve Lewisville. Here is his presentation.
Council, it's a pleasure to be back with you again. It's been almost a year since we met. A lot has transpired over that time. This evening, on behalf of the board of Serve Denton and the staff, I'd like to present to you the results of, I think, is a very thorough feasibility study that I'm excited to present. Next slide. So this is what we'll discuss today. Ultimately, hopefully get a go, no-go decision on moving forward and next steps. Next slide. So just a reminder, the purpose of this study was to determine if a health and human service center or a nonprofit center is feasible in the city of Lewisville. City staff, city leadership, starting with Donna Barron and carried on by City Manager Claire Powell, asked us to focus on 5 areas: adult health care, mental health, income assistance and food, rent and utility assistance, affordable child care, and food. There was also a strong desire to locate areas of town that are eligible for new market tax credits. New market tax credits open a very useful source of capital that to date has not been used a lot in the North Texas area that we have used in Denton that I think would be very advantageous to the city. And then to make sure that we can accomplish this project within a rough $2.5 million budget. The process that we used was a 3-step process of discover, envision, and plan. We spent about 3 months discovering what the needs were in the community. We did numerous interviews with nonprofit leaders, churches, school district leaders, and city staff. Out of that discovery process, we put together a vision document, and that was completed through 2 visioning sessions that we had. The second one was extremely beneficial to us. And a lot of the content that you'll see tonight came out of that visioning session we did right across the street. Out of that visioning session, that consensus of the direction the center should take, we were able to put together a governance plan, a financial plan, a physical plan, and that's what we're presenting to you tonight. Next slide. So out of the visioning session, this was a statement that we put together that I think captured a lot of what was said, and that is to create a nonprofit center that enables Lewisville to double capacity to meet critical needs in the community over the next 5 years and promote collaboration between nonprofits, churches, and civic organizations. Those ideas were things that came from a variety of different sources in the community, and that there was a strong desire to help strengthen collaboration from the school district, from churches, as well as other nonprofits, and to bring in nonprofits that currently don't have a major presence in Lewisville into the community. And so we're very excited to establish that as a vision. I feel vision statements are incredibly important because it's going to give us a very clear metric to determine if we're successful. When we started Serve Denton, we had a very clear idea, and on October 19th, 2019, we celebrated fulfilling that vision. And so I want to be able to celebrate with the city of Lewisville fulfilling a similar vision in the years to come. Our mission is going to be to partner with the Lewisville community to help more people in need. Very straightforward. We're going to hire someone who has deep roots in Lewisville, that knows Lewisville, that's probably going to be a fighting farmer graduate. That's just part of the demographic of Lewisville, I believe, and someone that can help us really navigate and understand the community. It's a lot more than just building the building. It's understanding and building those relationships that really makes nonprofit centers work. Next slide. This is a summary of the agencies who have expressed a strong desire to move into the center. Denton County MHMR wants 7 staff people to move here. They have the funding to hire those staff people. They would provide a variety of services from adult and child mental health services, addiction recovery, and a lot of outpatient services. The co-care team with the City of Lewisville is currently already up and operating. They would relocate to the center over the next year. PD Place has a strong desire to do mental health services, especially play therapy for children. If you're not watching the news, mental health amongst children and teens is epidemic. That's not too strong of a word. We have the pandemic with COVID, and we have an epidemic of mental health illness for teens and kids. And so they have a strong desire for that. Giving Grace is an organization that just recently merged, was Grace Like Rain and Giving Hope. They merged July 1st, and they provide a very holistic wraparound services that's not just rental and income assistance, but also financial literacy, life skills, and it's a great, their model leverages a lot of churches and bringing coaches along these families to help them walk through life, which is often what they need. Catholic Charities is also strongly interested. Roxanne Del Rio, my boss, board chair of Serve Denton, just arrived. She's been a great connection for us to bring in Catholic Charities out of Fort Worth, and they're very interested in having a strong presence here. NCTC, Dr. Del Rio is the Associate Dean at NCTC. They want to have a major presence on the campus. And then lastly, there's an opportunity to have a women and infant children's store that would provide those really essential products and services that children and moms need. We'd hope to have that store in the building, and that would be the first, just in what we call phase one. We're also proposing forming two coalitions. The first is a hunger coalition. This is something Serve Denton started back in 2013 in Denton. And what we found is there was very little coordination between food pantries in Denton. And so what we did is we brought large-scale refrigeration capacity to the community, and that refrigeration then could be shared. And I think there's an opportunity here to do something very similar. We've met with your staff, they're very interested, and there's some ongoing studies with SMU, Tarrant Area Food Bank, and North Texas Food Bank looking specifically at Denton County that I think can yield some investment that this center could help facilitate. And the last is a mental health coalition. This was something Dr. Rapp at the school district was very interested in. It's more than just sitting around talking around the table. It's really figuring out how we can leverage resources, how we can do mental health first aid, how we can do suicide prevention or awareness, and a variety of other mental health services that really reach beyond the clinical setting into the community. And we found that that's been very successful as well. And so we would also be using that director of operations that we would bring on to help facilitate these coalitions. So structurally, we would propose the city would contribute 2 board members to Denton Assistance Center, Inc. That's our parent organization. We do business as Serve Denton. Those would be basically 3-year terms, and those board members could serve up to 3 consecutive terms. We would also form a special purpose entity called Serve Lewisville Center, Inc., which would be the holding company of the asset. And this is what we would use the funding to go by. And it would be basically focused on the funding would come through Serve Lewisville Center, Inc. That would own the asset. The improvements would be here. And then any back office support that we provide out of Serve Denton up here would be reimbursed from Serve Lewisville Center, Inc. This is the same structure that we have with our property in Denton, and it's very important that we do it this way for a couple reasons. One, to protect the city of Lewisville, to make sure you have an asset that if things don't work out, you got a way to recoup that, all right? But more importantly, I think, is this is how we can set ourselves up for new market tax credits. And I'm not going to get into the lingo of new markets, but we want that separate entity to own the asset because of a variety of different tax laws that prevent the entity from making a loan unto itself. That's another conversation for another day, but this sets us up for that new market tax credit in the future in phase 2. This entity would have 5 board members, these 2 city members here, myself, and then 2 other at-large community members that would meet probably 2 to 3 times a year to oversee that organization. The staff and the bodies reside up here, but they have different responsibilities, whether they're assigned to Serve Denton Center or Serve Lewisville. Any questions on that?
And for clarification on that, for the 2 city positions, staff's recommendation would be similar to what we've done in other boards, is to have 1 staff member, 1 council member that would be on that board, obviously designated by council. So you guys would just, dictate that. And really, that would get started whenever Serve Lewisville is ready to, form that. And I don't know what the time frame would be the next couple months.
Correct. The other thing that we would do is we would form an advisory council. And what the advisory council does for me is it's these senior community leaders who don't necessarily want to sit on a board, but they're people, I need those touchstones in the community. And I'll give you a great example. So many of you know who R.L. Crawford was. R.L. was his family goes back to 1855 in Lewisville. And R.L. was on my advisory council. He was a tremendous help. He passed away this past winter, but his son Trey is still on our advisory council, and they give me, as a leader, a conduit to the community that I rely on a lot. They don't have a fiduciary responsibility, but they have an advisory role. And so we will look for those folks. Judge Andy Eads is on the Serve Denton Advisory Council, as an example. And so we would look to recruit those folks over time and build that advisory council. They meet twice a year. They tell me what to think or what they think. They give me great advice, and they often tell me where my blind spots are. So any questions on this? All right, next slide. So operations. So as I said, we would hire a center director or operations director to oversee. That person would office here full time. And then ultimately, once we get ready to open, we would hire 2 client greeters. One would have strong Spanish speaking skills, and the other would have strong Chin language skills. My existing staff back in Denton would do the finance, the development, property management, and marketing. And we use a system that we may not be aware of, and that's called the Serve Denton Business System. We have an ongoing relationship with Toyota Motor Corporation. They now work with 6 of our different partner agencies, helping them improve their processes. And what we've done is built a way about how we deliver value. And so our promise to our tenants, those nonprofits, is high quality space at affordable cost, responsiveness, and a supportive community. What makes us different than a commercial landlord is that supportive community. We do a lot of things that you'll never see a commercial real estate broker do. We do training. We have a chair where CEOs can come in and cry on my shoulder, and they need that from time to time. We help them with fundraising. We help them with marketing. We help them with technical issues, whether it's financial or development, marketing. And so that system, and I could spend an hour talking about that one diagram, but that is the core of who we are and how we operate. And we see the results of that in the partner satisfaction levels that we measure on a quarterly basis. Next slide. So let's get down to streets and properties. We looked at 5 different properties. We narrowed that down over about a 6-week period to 2 properties. I'm going to focus on this one property because we believe this is in every way superior to every other property we looked at. And this is the old DACU building at the corner of Edmonds and Fox Avenue, 1001 Edmonds. It's approximately an 8,000 square foot building, and then it has a large covered drive-through area. It's got 59 parking spaces, 2 of which are ADA. It's got excellent, from my perspective, vehicle circulation where people can drive through. I will tell you, every day we have the food pantry at Serve Denton up to 150 cars in the parking lot circling through our driveway, and it's only increasing right now. So having good drive-through is very important. All the utilities are there, It's got a zoning that's compliant with the surrounding area, and there's a possible area for expansion for a community garden right here behind this church. So we felt like of all the things we looked at, this was hands down the best property, and it's eligible for new market tax credits. And we've now reached an agreement with DACU on a purchase price. Next slide. This gives you an exterior shot from Edmonds, and it's a nice looking property, good trees, and needs a little TLC, but overall it's got very good bones. We'll be putting on a new roof. This drive-through area I'll talk about in a minute. Inside, it's very dated, 1990s, early to mid 1990s. We plan to update the interior to current standards and do a complete furniture package. And we have used the same designer that Children's Advocacy Center used. Children's Advocacy at Serve Denton did a phenomenal job of their area, and if you haven't been to their facility here in Lewisville, it's extremely well done, and we've included that cost in our estimate. So when you walk in, it will be a Lewisville themed facility. It'll bleed Lewisville. Everything we do will say Lewisville, and that's very important to me. I want the people of Lewisville to own this, because if they own it, then it'll be successful. Any questions?
I've got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said y'all worked out a purchase price.
1.3 million. Slide. I'm not going to walk through all this slide. You had that in your deck. Talk about the weaknesses. So talked about the roof already. We're going to replace that. Talked about the interiors. The teller window area where towards the back, we'll do a complete demo of that area, and that's where MHMR will go. We'll completely re-lamp the facility to LED lighting. That's our standard. And we'll replace almost all the exterior windows because they're single pane, and we want double pane and the more current windows. Some of the challenges are limited expandability. And so that was a really key criteria, because here's what's going to happen. We're going to get this phase one open, and then people are going to start knocking down the door wanting to move in. And we're going to quickly run out of space. I currently have on for Serve Denton Center, a waiting list of 6 agencies. And North Texas, or Tri Area Food Bank, I'm meeting with them tomorrow. They want to build another 15,000 square foot warehouse on my property, and I don't have the room. So I predict that's what's going to happen, is people are going to see this and they want to be a part of it. So expandability becomes really important. I'll talk more about how we do that. We need to make that drive-through revenue producing. The way it's configured right now, we're not going to make a dime off of that, and we need to. And then lastly, we need to make sure that we properly sprinkle and fire protect the facility, and we've worked out with the fire department how we can do that. Next slide. So this is the proposed phase one. This is the existing building. This is the drive-through area, so right at 8,000 square feet. There would be, this is MHMR up here, their offices. These offices in purple would be tenant offices. Very little renovation, basically repaint, recarpet, new lights, not a lot. This conference room here is already existing, as well as the cafe. Those are very light renovations. Up here towards the front, we would put in, this is where the teller desks are. There'll be fairly significant renovation here of offices, security glass to make sure that everyone stays safe. And then we have offices and meeting room for the director, and also for people when they come in, they can meet right there in the waiting area. There would also be waiting room furniture. Restrooms right here would get overhaul, and then we'd put a doorway from here out to here for future growth. But all in all, a fairly light renovation, which to me, compared to what I dealt with at Serve Denton Center, is huge. So those dollars are going to go a long way. We're not having to start from scratch. You can see all the different things that we talked about here. Lewisville branded and focused. User-centered, what we mean by that is every room, that user will have a lot of input into what that room looks like. For example, MHMR does not want carpet in their offices because sometimes things happen and there's a mess made. So they have vinyl flooring. Trauma-informed design means that those colors are going to be things that are not going to cause people anxiety, and we've learned how important that is. I'm not going to read through all that, but just know that we spend a lot of time sweating the details, because the more I can make that space tailored to that organization, the happier they're going to be. Next slide. In the future, what we would propose to do initially is demo that drive-through. It would just be a vacant parking lot. And then in phase 2, we would build either 8 or 16,000 square foot building with a footprint that would be funded with new market tax credits. What organizations could go in there right now is yet to be determined. There's a lot of possibilities with NCTC, North Texas Food Bank, a medical clinic, but it would also add 16 parking spots right here, and would really make the project financially viable for the long term and give us that expansion capability that we need when phase 1 gets built. So as I was mentioning, phase 1 would be what we would accomplish between now and hopefully April 1st to get moved in and operating. And then the area where the drive-through is would be developed for future expansion in probably 2024, 2025, leveraging new market tax credits. And what new market tax credits basically do is bring about 25% of the total project cost to the community as a forgivable loan that we would operate the property for 7 years as a new market tax credit project. At the end of that 7 years, that loan would be forgiven. And so that represents a major capital investment. The other thing New Markets does is it attracts other investors. And I will tell you already, there are community leaders, state level leaders, who have approached to me directly and expressed their interest in participating in this project as a new market project. So what that can do for Serve Denton, it brought in $3 million from outside Denton County into the community to create an asset that will survive, hopefully all of us, and provide tremendous capability. And so that's why we believe it's a very strong project in that sense, that we have this expansion capability to be eligible for new markets. The total project cost has to exceed $5 million. The $2.5 million that the city would put in is considered part of that value that gets considered. And those investors can be U.S. Bank, Frost Bank, are two major investors in new market tax credits. Look at that, and especially coming from the city of Lewisville, that's a very strong signal to them that this is something that they should participate in. So I just want you to know that that feedback's already out there in the street, okay? Next slide. So I talked about the capital sources, $2.5 million from the American Rescue Plan funding. We would raise really about $1.5 or $150,000 from private sources through grants and then individuals and businesses. I've had some businesses already in Lewisville approach me who are very interested in naming rights for the project. Capital uses, we'd use $2.4 million to acquire the property, do our due diligence, design, renovate, replace the roof, make some site improvements, and you can see there. And then phase 2, as I mentioned earlier, would require the new market tax credits and an equity investment. Operations, we would charge tenants $17 a square foot. That's an all-in cost. What we've committed to, and you'll see this later in the deal points, is we would make sure we're no higher than 80% of the market rate. And we would give you that calculation on an annual basis where we go survey the market to show you what the market rate is, and we would adjust it that if the market rate goes down, then we would go down. Our job is to be as efficient as possible while providing the highest quality, and I think we do a good job of that. We would cover all fundraising in the out years. That's on us. And we believe that Lewisville and Flower Mound and Highland Village and South Denton County are prime for a project like this and would be very supportive of it. Next slide. So this is a quick summary of what I just shared with you. The sources would be City of Lewisville, $2.5 million, private donations, 0.1, grand total 2.6, acquisition costs, that's already been negotiated at $1.3 million. Phase 1 development, which includes a significant allocation for inflation, 1.4% per month for 8 months, as well as a 10% contingency is included in that $0.9 million, well, is in the $0.2 million. And then Serve Denton, we would charge a $90,000 development fee. That's basically taking our time and expertise to deliver the project, and that's fairly common in the development world. So total cost all in would be $2.5 million. We're at risk, anything above that, so we work really hard on cost control. I will tell you 90% of the project we've already gotten bids on from our tradespeople. So we have a very high certainty on our costs, and we make sure that we really think through all those issues, because at the end of the day, we have to deliver. When we did Serve Denton Center, Children's Advocacy Center and Denton Community Food Center each gave us $1.3 million and trusted us to deliver. And we've done that. And they are extremely pleased with the product that we've given them. And that's what we want to do to you. We want to take your trust in us and come back and deliver a project that Lewisville will be proud of for years to come. Slide, please. So we believe Serve Lewisville is a go. We think we can address 3 of the 5 major needs initially and address the remaining needs in the out years with the expansion. We think the location is very well suited for the neighborhood, for the community. It meets all the check marks, boxes that we have. We have a property that's in very good condition. The property that we bought in Denton was in terrible condition. Terrible roof, no interior walls, lots of issues. Compared to where we are here, it's night and day. We've got several anchor nonprofits who are interested, and we can accomplish everything within the funding available. Slide. Next steps, we'd like to get your feedback tonight. If supportive, we are prepared to sign a letter of intent with DACU immediately and then move into a contract with them. We'd have a 90-day inspection period, which would give the city time to paper the deal, and then we would all bring that together, hopefully with a closing in sometime in late October, early November. We would begin forming the nonprofit holding company within the next week, and we'll be meeting with our new market tax consultant in August 16th. City staff will be in that meeting to make sure everything we do is lined up for that long-term objective of being able to take advantage of new markets. We'd enter into the agreement with you all to fund the acquisition, renovation operations, and then we would start executing letters of intent with our tenants. Once we get through design, we convert those LOIs into leases, which become effective 30 days after occupancy. And we would begin design and permitting in the next week. We've got the contract from the AE ready to go, just waiting for the green light. Next slide. This is a bar chart just kind of highlighting the high-level schedule. April 1st is a significant date for Serve Denton because that's when we opened our first property in 2014 on April 1st. So to be able to do that for Serve Lewisville has a special meaning for me, and I think it would show good progress to you all and the community that we're moving forward and executing this project.